Well, preparations are twofold. One, of course, is to decide on the candidates that will
Yes.
be fielding for the seats that National Conference will be fighting. And along with that, obviously, is to gear up the party, the entire organization, so that we are able to take our message to the voter and convince the voters that it is in the interests of J&K to vote for the alliance candidates, which are National Conference and the India Alliance.
Okay, sir. So, what do you think of CM Kejriwal's arrest?
I think it's unfortunate. It is one in a series of events that have taken place targeting the opposition, and he is now the second chief minister
Yes.
to be arrested. Prior to this, the chief minister of Jharkhand resigned before arrest. Kejriwal Sahab decided not to. My only worry with his decision of not resigning is that my fear is that he will give the BJP an excuse to dismiss his government, which again I don't believe is in the interests of either the people of Delhi or democracy at large. But the way in which agencies are used, particularly against opposition politicians and parties, the statistics are clear. Of all the cases that the Enforcement Directorate has sort of begun or filed in the last 5 years or so, 95% are against opposition parties and opposition politicians. So that in itself tells you the story.
So, what is the National Conference's POA for general elections? Rather, I can say plan of action.
Well, our plan of action, as I said, is to take our message to the voters, to convince the voters that it is in the interests of J&K to vote for the National Conference, that we are an authentic voice of the people. We are not a party that has been born of intelligence agencies. We are not a party that has been born out of the Home Ministry of Delhi. That is a claim that very few parties in Jammu and Kashmir can actually make today, because somewhere or the other, most political parties owe their allegiance and their birth to intelligence agencies. And this is not a new phenomenon. We've seen this for quite a few years now. We are an authentic voice of the people of Jammu and Kashmir, and we will appeal to the people not to vote Delhi's representative as an MP, but to vote their representative to go to Delhi and to espouse their cause there.
So, how is India bloc affected by CM Kejriwal's arrest, Son, and other such top leaders?
Well, obviously, the arrest of the Chief Minister of Jharkhand, the Chief Minister of Delhi, they are important constituents of the India Alliance. You can't dispute the fact that the Aam Aadmi Party is one of the only parties that has a government in more than one state. And therefore, the footprint of the Aam Aadmi Party is bigger than a lot of the other constituent parties of the India Alliance. Kejriwal Sahab would have been a key campaigner for the India Alliance outside of Delhi and Punjab. So his absence from the campaign will obviously be felt, but I also hope that voters somewhere will realize the threat that Indian democracy faces, and maybe Arvind Kejriwal becomes a rallying point for all those voters who are unhappy with the direction in which India is going.
Okay, so do you
I'm
think
sorry, when I say India, I mean the country, not the alliance.
Okay, so do you think Kashmir, where one of the G20 forum was convened, do you think that there is an embracing change?
Change with what?
Like G20 forum was recently conducted here. So what do you think? Is there any change in getting in Kashmir here?
Well, if you mean
By these-
I mean,
by
if you,
doing these-
I mean, if you conduct a meeting that requires Srinagar city to be shut for 3 days, then yes, by all means, you can call it a change, and you're welcome to. I am unfortunate enough to live on a road that is either the route that the Prime Minister has to take, or the Lieutenant Governor has to take, or in the case of the G20, all the visiting delegates had to come along this road. So I know exactly how much Srinagar was affected by the G20. The day a G20 meeting can take place and delegates are free to move around without being shepherded the way these ones were. Please don't forget, their trip to Gulmarg was cancelled after much preparation. Even the flags have been put up in Tangmarg. I don't know if you noticed. Their trip to Dachigam was cancelled. Clearly, the change that the government claims is visible is not there on the ground.
Okay, so how does the populist template of electoral manifesto affect the society?
What?
Sir, how does the populist template of electoral manifesto is affecting the society?
An election manifesto is a set of promises that a political party makes with the electorate in the hope that they are voted to power. Then it becomes a solemn commitment of that particular political party to implement that manifesto. To the extent that the promises made in the manifesto are ones that unite people, are ones that reduce hatred, are ones that improve the lot of the people in terms of development, in terms of amenities, in terms of jobs. Obviously, society as a whole benefits from manifestos that are carefully framed and then properly implemented.
So, what are the industries you would create for an employment?
Well, Jammu and Kashmir, I think we need to understand, has inherent disadvantages. We don't have a very strong resource base. We also have geographical disadvantages, locational disadvantages. We're at one corner of the country. And therefore, to expect that you will be able to create heavy industry, heavy manufacturing in Jammu and Kashmir is not feasible. Also, we have a very delicate environment. Whatever industry comes to Jammu and Kashmir has to be one that does not destroy our environment. In fact, if anything, contributes to it. So then we have to play to our advantages. What are our advantages? Obviously, tourism is one. Now, how do we grow tourism in a way in which we now start moving away from bulk tourism to value tourism? Instead of focusing on numbers, we start focusing on the quality of tourists and how much money they spend. Case in point being, let's say, Bhutan. Let's contrast Bhutan with Nepal. Nepal tourism is based on numbers. Bhutan tourism is based on quality. Bhutan keeps the number of tourists low, but tries to ensure that the tourists that comes are high-spending tourists. Similarly with Maldives. The tourist that goes to the Maldives is a high-spending tourist. So, not now, but in due course. Look, we will reach a point where Kashmir will be saturated, that we will not be able to take more tourists than we already get. At which point then we will have to focus on improving the sort of the economic threshold for tourism, and that's an important one. Agriculture is part of our sort of base. Horticulture, handicrafts, anything that adds value to what we already have. So, I mean, these are areas. Mining, if it can be done in an environmentally sort of favorable way. We have recently learned that we have discovered, I think it's lithium as a product
exactly.
that is used in batteries.
Yeah.
Now, I think it would be extremely unfortunate if all this lithium was taken out of J&K and used elsewhere, and we saw no benefit from it. So the mining and the post-mining sort of refinement and then use in industry should be in J&K. At the end of the day, it's coming out of our soil. If we don't see any benefit from it, then leave it there. We don't want it out, because if you're going to ruin our rivers, you're going to ruin our environment, and we're not going to see any economic benefit from it, then we're not interested.
So apart from these questions, can you tell me what are your favorite books, authors, and young politicians?
My favorite young politicians?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have favorite young politicians.
What about
I have friends and I have associates, and that's.
What about novels and authors?
I
You
read
like to
books. I read books.
Which is your favorite author and novels?
I don't have favorites. It really depends what I come across. Sometimes I read historical books. Sometimes I read fiction. It really depends on what is recommended, and
So any favorite political biography? Your Netflix series, OTT series?
I recently saw an OTT series based on a boarding school. Now I can't even remember the name. That's the problem with me. With age, my memory is going. And during Ramzan, I found my memory is even less than otherwise. But I'll try and remember. It's on Amazon Prime. It's a series based out of a girls' boarding school. And I enjoyed that for the simple reason that it took me back to my boarding school days. The language, I mean, a lot of it has changed. I think a lot of it there's been elements added to it for dramatic effect. Some of the things that were happening in that school, I didn't recognize as things that are possible in a boarding school. But still, it was fun. So series like that, really, as I said, it depends on the mood and what is available.